In the middle of a stormy airport, a little boy in shoes too big for his feet tugs a stranger's sleeve and whispers the words no child should ever have to say. "You look like my daddy who's in heaven. Can you help my sick mom?" His mother, fever breaking her, hospital bracelet still on her wrist, slumps helplessly as strangers rush past. Then the man turns, and realizes the dying woman is the only love he ever abandoned. And the brave little boy begging for her life is the son he never knew he had. One desperate plea. One impossible second chance. Sometimes the smallest voice can bring the strongest man to his knees. The rain pounded against the glass walls of Zurich International Airport, a relentless symphony that mirrored the storm raging in Damian Voss's heart. At 34, the billionaire CEO of Voss Global had just closed a multi-billion-dollar deal in Switzerland, but victory tasted like ash. His empire, built on steel acquisitions and unyielding ambition, couldn't fill the void left by years of solitude. No family. No ties. Just the echo of his father's cold legacy: emotions are weaknesses, son. Crush them before they crush you. Damian stared at the departure board, his private jet delayed by the weather. Bodyguards hovered at a discreet distance, ensuring no one disturbed the man who commanded boardrooms but dined alone. The whiskey burned his throat, a poor substitute for warmth on this dreary night. Rain, always rain, it had poured the day he buried his parents, symbolizing the grief he buried deeper still. Then, a small tug on his cashmere coat sleeve shattered the silence. Damian looked down to see a boy, no older than 6, with oversized shoes that flopped like borrowed sorrow. The child's eyes were wide, rimmed red from crying, his cheeks streaked with dried tears. He clutched a worn stuffed bear, its fur matted as if it had weathered storms of its own. "You look like my daddy who is in heaven," the boy whispered, his voice cracking like fragile glass. "Can you help my sick mom?" Damian froze. No one approached him like this. Ever. His first instinct was to wave off security, but something in the boy's earnest gaze, a mirror of his own forgotten vulnerability, held him back. He knelt down, bringing himself eye level with the child, the rain outside intensifying as if urging him forward. "What's your name, kid?" Damian asked, his voice softer than he'd intended. "Leo," the boy replied, sniffling. "And my mom's Natalie. She's over there." He pointed to a row of plastic chairs where a woman slumped, her body trembling. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, lips cracked from fever. A hospital bracelet dangled from her wrist, a stark reminder of fragility in this transient hub of steel and glass. Natalie Ramirez. The name hit Damian like a thunderclap, stealing the air from his lungs. 8 years ago, in a dimly lit university library, she'd been the scholarship girl with paint-stained fingers, tutoring him through economics to make ends meet. Her laughter had been like sunrise, thawing the ice around his prodigy heart. One tutoring session turned into stolen nights, whispered dreams. But his father had discovered it, threatened to destroy her future if Damian didn't end it. So he had, cruelly, vanishing without a word, leaving her shattered. Now, here she was, collapsing in an airport on her way home to Seattle from visiting family in Miami. And the boy. Leo, with eyes so like his own. Could it be? This can't be happening. Not her. Not now. And the boy, he has my mother's chin, my determination. Is he? No, Damian thought but pushed it down. Let me help first and ask questions later. Leo, Damian said gently, tell me what's wrong with your mom. She's hot all over and won't wake up good, Leo said, his lower lip trembling. We were flying home, but she got sicker. "Please, mister. You're big and strong like Daddy was." The rain hammered harder, as if grieving for lost time. Damian glanced at Natalie, her breath shallow, fever ravaging her illustrator's frame. She was a children's book artist now, he'd vaguely heard through old connections, steady contracts, independent, proud. But pride had kept her from seeking help sooner, a single mom's stubbornness in the face of dehydration and infection. Without another thought, Damian signaled his team subtly. "Call the jet. We're not waiting." He scooped Natalie into his arms, she weighed nothing, like a fragile sketch on paper, and turned to Leo. "Come on, buddy. Let's get your mom some help." Leo hesitated, then nodded, slipping his small hand into Damian's. As they moved toward the private lounge, the boy's trust pierced Damian's armored heart. Rain blurred the world outside, symbolizing the grief washing away, making room for renewal. The private jet cut through the stormy skies, leaving the airport's chaos behind. Inside the luxurious cabin, dim lights cast a warm glow over leather seats and polished wood. Leo, exhausted from the ordeal, curled up against Damian's side, his stuffed bear clutched tight. The boy had fallen asleep almost immediately, his small chest rising and falling in rhythm with the engines. Damian watched Natalie, now laid out on a reclined seat with a blanket over her, and 4 drip administered by the onboard medic he'd summoned. Her fever was breaking slowly, but her eyes fluttered open in the dim light, finding his face. "Damian," she murmured, her voice weak, laced with disbelief and lingering pain. "Is it really you?" He nodded, his throat tight. "Yes, Natalie. It's me. Him. After all these years. The man who broke me, vanishing like a ghost. But Leo, he doesn't know. How can I face this now, when I'm barely holding on?" Natalie thought. "Why are you helping us?" she asked, her cracked lips forming the words with effort. Damian leaned closer, his hand hovering near hers but not touching. "Your son asked me to. And I couldn't walk away. Not this time." Leo stirred in his sleep, mumbling something about "Daddy in heaven." The words hung heavy, a unspoken truth between them. Damian's gaze shifted to the boy, a surge of protectiveness washing over him. As a gesture, he reached into his bag and pulled out a small, elegant umbrella, compact, designer, meant for his travels. He placed it beside Leo. "For the rain," Damian said softly. "So you both stay dry from now on." Natalie managed a faint smile, tears welling. "He's a good kid. Stubborn like me." The jet hummed onward, cutting through clouds heavy with rain. Below, the world blurred, but inside, tentative connections formed, threads of family bonds Damian had long denied. The storm outside raged, but for the first time, it felt like renewal rather than loss. Soft morning light filters through floor-to-ceiling windows of Damian's Zurich penthouse overlooking Lake Zurich. Gentle piano returns, slower now, almost hesitant. Rain has stopped, the world feels washed clean, but a light drizzle begins anew, tapping gently like unresolved questions. 3 days after the emergency landing in Zurich, Natalie's fever had broken, but her walls remained intact. The private clinic released her with orders for rest, yet she paced the guest wing like a caged artist, sketching absent-mindedly on napkins to reclaim some control. Damian had offered everything, doctors, comfort, time, but she accepted only the bare minimum, her pride a shield against the man who'd shattered her 8 years ago. Leo, oblivious to the undercurrents, explored the vast space with wide-eyed wonder, his new shoes, courtesy of Damian's discreet shopping, no longer flopping like hand-me-downs. He tugged at Damian's sleeve often, asking innocent questions that pierced the air. Why is your house so big? Do you have toys? Damian, for his part, began small gestures of care, reading Leo a bedtime story from one of Natalie's own illustrated books, tucking him in with the airport umbrella propped nearby like a sentinel. This keeps the rain away, he'd say softly, his voice cracking on memories of his own mother's similar words. It was his first tentative step into fatherhood, unasked but instinctive, as if making up for lost years one page at a time. Sometimes Damian would watch him laugh. He laughs like her, but those eyes, mine. I don't deserve this yet, but I'll earn it. No more running from the storm, he thought. Natalie watched from doorways, her heart warring with her head. She clutched the umbrella's handle, turning it over, remembering the one he'd left behind years ago, no note, just silence and rain-soaked abandonment. One afternoon, while Leo napped, she ventured into Damian's study. The door was ajar, inviting secrets. Inside, photos lined the walls, young Damian with his stern father at a steel mill, a woman, his mother, shielding toddler him under an umbrella in a downpour, their smiles frozen in time. Then, on the desk, a framed snapshot from university, Natalie dozing on his shoulder in the library, paint on her cheek, his arm around her in secret tenderness. A dried white rose marked a page in her first published book, dog-eared from repeated readings. Damian entered quietly. I couldn't let go of you. Not completely. Natalie's eyes filled with tears, but her voice was steel. You don't get to hoard memories while I raised our son alone. You left me pregnant, Damian. I built a life without you, illustrations, contracts, stability. Leo thinks his father's in heaven because the truth was too ugly. He stepped closer, but she held up a hand. Our son. Yes. And I hated you for it. Still do, some days. Damian sank into a chair, rain pattering outside like shared grief. My father forced my hand, threatened your future, your family. I was weak. But I've changed. Let me prove it. I launched a children's imprint last year. Sign with me. A fair contract, no strings. It's the least I can do. She hesitated, the offer a bridge over turbulent waters. No pity deals. And no expectations. None, he promised. Just a chance to support what you've built. After a long pause, she nodded faintly. Fine. For Leo's sake. But one misstep, and we're gone. Back in her Seattle apartment, Natalie signed the new contract with Voss Children's division remotely, her hand trembling over the digital signature. It was practical, better royalties, creative freedom, but it felt like letting Damian in, inch by inch. She hated how his help eased her burdens, how Leo lit up at his calls. Damian visited daily, respecting boundaries. He'd pick Leo up from school some afternoons, teaching him to fold paper airplanes in the park, sharing stories of his own lonely childhood under rainy skies. My mom gave me an umbrella once, he told Leo one day, as they huddled under a shared one during a sudden shower. Said it keeps the bad away. Now it's yours. Leo beamed, calling him Mr. Damian, but the bond grew, small games, bedtime calls, gestures of care that chipped at Natalie's resolve. Natalie watched them from the doorway. He's good with him. Patient. But trust. That's a storm I'm not ready to weather. Not yet. She thought, her chest tightened. Then the email shattered the fragile peace, plagiarism accusations from industry whispers. Screenshots claimed her new book, under the fresh Voss contract, copied an obscure artist. Advance frozen. Blogs buzzed. Her agent called in panic. Natalie crumpled, Leo's drawings scattered on the table like broken dreams. The doorbell rang. Damian, coat dusted with snow, held a folder. "It's Victor, my cousin. He's gunning for the company, dug into my life, found you and Leo. This is his sabotage." "Why now?" she demanded, voice shaking. "Because I'm vulnerable. Happy, for once." He laid out evidence, forged emails, traced IPs. "I can clear it, lawsuits, public retractions. And a better contract, triple the advance." She paced, rain streaking the windows. "I signed because you promised safety. Now this? I'll handle Victor. Board vote is soon, I'll strip his influence." He paused, eyes pleading. "Let me protect you. Not out of guilt. Because I never stopped loving you." Natalie softened slightly, but held firm. "Actions, Damian. Not words. Prove it with Leo first. Then maybe, us." He nodded, leaving with a quiet resolve. Outside, the drizzle turned to steady rain, symbolizing the slow wash of renewal amid lingering grief. Over the next days, Damian doubled his efforts. He joined Leo's soccer practice, cheering from the sidelines in the mist, later drying the boy's hair with a towel from his car, a fatherly instinct blooming. They baked cookies in Natalie's kitchen one evening, flour dusting their faces, laughter echoing like forgotten family bonds. Natalie watched, her hatred thawing into wary hope, but she kept distance, testing his commitment. "This is what I missed. Messy, real. I'll fight for it, no more steel walls." He told himself and let out a sigh. Then, the disaster came. Natalie had a virtual meeting. Damian offered to fetch Leo from school. He arrived on time, but the teacher frowned. A man in a black coat signed him out early. Said he was family, your brother. Victor. Panic surged. Natalie joined the search, streets slick with rain-snow mix. Police, cams, frantic calls. Damian's voice broke, "Not like my mom, lost in a storm. I won't lose him." A tip led to the Space Needle, Leo, alone on the deck, umbrella open against the flurry, tears freezing on his cheeks. They rushed up. Leo flung himself into Damian's arms. "I thought you forgot, like my heaven daddy." "Never," Damian whispered, kneeling in the wet. "I'm here now. Forever." Natalie enveloped them both, the three a huddle against the wind. "You've earned a start," she murmured to Damian. "But we take it slow." Above, city lights pierced the storm, family bonds forging in the renewal. December 23rd, in Seattle. Snow has turned to soft, fat flakes that look like feathers from heaven. Warm orchestral strings with bells begin, gentle, glowing, full of wonder. 3 weeks after the Space Needle rescue, the city shimmered under holiday lights. Natalie still hadn't asked Damian to leave, and he hadn't dared to assume he could stay. Instead, he showed up every single day, quietly, consistently, like the rain that now felt more like blessing than burden. Tonight was the annual Christmas tree lighting at Westlake Center. Leo had begged to go. Natalie had hesitated, then looked at Damian and said the words that still rang in his ears. "If you're really in this, come with us. As a family." So here they were, bundled in coats and scarves, Leo between them holding both their hands. The crowd counted down, 10, 9, 8. When the tree blazed to life, a million colored lights reflected in Leo's eyes and in the tears Natalie tried to hide. Damian lifted Leo onto his shoulders so he could see better. The boy's midden-covered hands rested on Damian's head like a crown. Leo leaned down and whispered loud enough for both to hear. "This is the best Christmas ever, because I have a mommy and a daddy again." Natalie's breath caught. She looked up at Damian, really looked. Snowflakes caught in his dark hair, melting the last of the ice around her heart. "I spent 8 years teaching myself to live without him. Turns out I was only surviving," Natalie thought to herself. "Watching him lift our son higher so he can touch the stars, this is living." Damian set Leo down gently, then turned to Natalie. From his coat pocket he pulled a small, familiar object, the very first umbrella he'd ever given her in college, the one she thought she'd thrown away. He'd found it years ago at a charity auction where she donated it, bought it back, and carried it ever since. "I kept it," he said simply. "The way I should have kept you." He opened it over the three of them, even though the snow wasn't heavy. A silly, perfect gesture. Under that small circle of shelter, with lights twinkling and carols rising, Natalie rose on her toes and kissed him, soft, slow, forgiving. Leo giggled and hugged their legs, completing the circle. The next morning, which is Christmas Eve morning, Natalie showered and Leo built a pillow fort. Damian sat at the kitchen table with coffee gone cold. In his hand was an envelope he'd carried for 8 years, yellowed, edges soft from being touched too often. Inside, a letter his mother had written to him the week before she died in that rain-slicked car accident. He'd never shown it to anyone. He placed it on the table just as Natalie walked in, hair damp, wearing one of his oversized sweaters she'd borrowed and never returned. "What's this?" she asked. He slid it toward her. "Read it." Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the paper. "My dearest Damian. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. I need you to know something your father will never say. Love is not weakness. It is the only thing stronger than steel. One day you will meet a girl who makes you laugh when it rains, who paints color into your gray world. When you find her, hold on. Fight for her. Build a family that chooses each other every single day. That is the real empire. I love you under every umbrella, always. Mom." Natalie's tears fell onto the page, smudging the ink. She looked up at Damian, voice breaking. She knew. Somehow she knew about me. Damian's eyes were wet too. She would have loved you. And Leo. And she would have told me I was an idiot for ever letting you go. Natalie reached across the table, lacing her fingers with his. "Then don't let go again." "I won't," he promised. "Not for all the steel in the world." From the living room came Leo's triumphant shout, "Fort Ramirez Voss is ready for inspection." They laughed through tears, two broken people choosing, finally, to become whole together. That night, the rain fell in sheets, drumming on the roof like applause. Damian stood at the apartment door in his coat, keys in hand. Natalie blocked his path, arms crossed, pretending to be stern. "Where do you think you're going?" He looked confused. "To the hotel." "I didn't want to assume." She rolled her eyes, grabbed his lapels, and pulled him back inside. "It's pouring. And Leo asked Santa for one thing this year, both of us waking him up on Christmas morning." Damian's smile broke wide, boyish, free. He dropped his overnight bag, scooped her up, and kissed her under the open doorway as rain misted around them, no umbrella this time, just joy. Leo appeared in dinosaur pajamas, rubbing his eyes. Are you staying forever now, Mr. Damian? Damian knelt, opening his arms. Leo ran into them. Yes, buddy. Forever starts tonight. Natalie joined the embrace, the three of them framed by the open door and the rain that had once symbolized only grief. Now it sang of renewal, of second chances written in water and light. Damian whispered against her hair, "Marry me, Natalie. Not because we have to. Because we finally, we get to." She laughed through happy tears. "Ask me again when Leo's asleep." He did, on one knee, with a ring he'd been carrying since, waiting for the moment he was worthy. Her answer was a kiss that tasted like forgiveness and forever. Sometimes the smallest voice in an airport, asking a stranger for help, can change 3 lives forever. Sometimes the rain isn't the end of the story, it's the page where healing begins. Thank you for crying, laughing, and believing with us tonight. If this story touched your heart, drop a "Leo deserves the world" in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you never miss another heartwarming tale. Stay with us at Golden Heart Stories for more stories that remind us. Love doesn't always arrive on time, but when it's real, it stays through every storm. See you in the next one. Merry Christmas, and may all your second chances find you under the rain.